bumping foods on the plate. We're vibing here, let's celebrate. Echo and essence, we keep it real. Talking about the way we feel. Essence, essence. From the beats to the love we share. Everything in between we care. Essence, essence. Yeah. Uncle Freezy, vibing on. Always something to say. Our main man in the cut, he is Soul Finger. DSJ always showing up as the soulful singer. Ron, Bully, and Corey always being so thorough. Don't forget from that ain't rap, try borrow. It's not just echo and essence. We keep it real. Talking about the way we feel. Essence, essence. From the beats to the love we share. Everything in between we care. Essence, essence. It's not just talk, it's how we groove. Life's a rhythm, we all move. Spin the wheel, what's next to see? Culture flowing endlessly. Echo and essence, we keep it real. Talking about the way we feel. Essence, essence. From the beats to the love we share. Everything in between we care. Essence, essence.
Yo, party people in the place. Yo, look who it is. I see you, big boy. I see you. All right. Yo, party people in the place to be. What's good? It's your main man, the number one chief rocker, man. I'm a little bit excited. I'm up here with Coach. I ain't seen Coach in like a week and a half or what it seemed like, but whatever. I can't hear you, boss. Mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2.
There it is.
There it is. What's good, boss?
Not much, man. You know, it's been work, getting caught up with work, and catching up with stuff. You know how that goes.
Rihanna songs, work. Okay.
Back. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So salute to the chat, man. Everybody watching us on X. Everyone watching us on YouTube. We're going to be joined shortly by the big homie, Crazy Teddy, coming through the hangout, man. Another Friday night, the Triborough Gigolo coming through the hangout, man. Talk some Van Halen.
Hey.
I don't know why we decided to talk Van Halen. It's not like they're any good. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like we
Pretty good.
Yeah, man. So salute to the chat. You know, we're joking and all that stuff, man. But Coach, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just in the football season, the Knicks stuff going on.
My team's trash. I have Tua, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill, bro. You told me though, so you warned me.
I mean, Tyreek is sort of making the best of it. Tua's a little weird.
And I keep stashing Baker Mayfield on the bench.
Oh, you got to play that dude.
I know. The matchups look crazy for Miami, though, bro.
It's just that offense. Like, you got to think the Bucks played, you know, the Falcons and Texans are pretty good.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield, this team's on a path right now.
Magic, bro.
He's
magic, bro. I saw him. Did you see where the play he injured his foot?
Yeah.
And then after that he scrambled for like 2 breaking first downs.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, man. Salute Baker, bro. Salute Baker.
I mean, the franchise who, for the longest time, we were cursed at the QB position, kind of like your Bears, you know.
Yeah.
And we either, when we thought we had somebody, they didn't turn out to be anybody, aka Vinny Testaverde's of the world,
Yeah.
Trent Dilfers, you know,
Doug Williams,
Josh Freeman.
Freeman.
But then we do get someone that's got talent, and then we trade them away. The Doug Williams, the Steve Youngs, you know, we didn't keep them around, and then they both went off to win Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, I watched 3 ex-Bucks QBs become Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
You know, Doug Williams, Steve Young, and then Trent Dilfer. And I was like, really? It's never going to happen. And then all of a sudden, we went from Brad Johnson 1-1, then, you know, Sean King had a nice little mini run there, you know.
Yeah.
And we had a tough little streak, and then for us to get Brady to fall on our laps, and then
a team in Florida wanted him so bad that they tampered, bro. And he went to the other guy.
I know.
Miguel P was good, man.
But nah, man. Much love to all the. I know we got a bunch of our New York brothers around, and I know a lot of them are Jets fans, but old Tyrod Taylor this week for the Jets is going to have a hard time against the Buckaroos.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you know, I was watching some high school football before I switched over. What's up?
Got to put the link in the chat for a trial.
Okay.
My boy.
I was watching Modern Day versus Bishop Gorman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you were watching 14 first-round picks?
You want to hear something crazy? They said before the game started, how many players can be on the field at once? Technically 22, right?
Yeah.
And then he talk about if you get 11 on each side of the ball for each team, it's like 44. 70 kids in that game have FBS Division I offers.
What? Yeah.
70,
That's
bro.
Crazy, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy.
There's this one kid on I forget if he's on Bishop Gorman or Modern Day, one of the two. He's the number 1 rated player in his class. I think he's a sophomore. He's like the class of 28. He's like the number 1 rated player, and he hardly play. He doesn't even start.
Oh, wow.
He's got to wait his turn. They're saying.
Yo, Trap Bro, what's good, bro?
What's good? Unc, what up?
What's good, bro?
Salute.
Yeah, man. Salute, man.
Salute.
Salute, bro.
Yeah, salute.
Hey, nice and smooth. Might have 2 in the top 250, bro. Hey, coach, we got the ongoing, bro. You know how we always do lists, and this is the Van Halen show, everybody. This is the Van Halen show, but this is like how we warm up and get into the thing. So I think Ted said he was watching. So hey, Ted, if you're watching, man, click that link above Miguel P's name. There he is. There he is. Hold on, everybody.
Hey.
Let me do this real quick for my guy. Yo, and this is my brother too, man. So y'all treat my guy with some respect, man. You know, I'm talking to the chat because I know people gonna be.
Always. Teddy.
Okay, so first let me say this. Our honeymoon, I wore a creamsicle Trent Dilfer jersey. I can't talk. So
Heck yeah.
on our honeymoon, which in fact we're 2 weeks away from our 30th, I had the creamsicle Trent Dilfer. And listen, we can talk all the Doug Williams accomplishments we want. Super Bowl, racial, groundbreaking stuff. We don't talk enough about he got to wear those funky Grambling State uniforms and the creamsicles.
Yeah.
In one lifetime.
In one lifetime, he might be the throwback champion.
Yeah,
he might need a Mitchell and Ness statue outside just for those jerseys.
And technically, he wore the last time that the Washington old name Redskins.
Yeah, he's got to get some Hall of Fame uniform votes. If nothing
Teddy said
else.
throw back. I was thinking throw up. Either way, it's the same.
It's funny how back when the orange creamsicle jerseys were out, people were always like, "Ugh," they didn't like, they were ugly. But then when you brought them back, they're kind of like, "Ooh."
And then, now,
well, but you know, sometimes girls go, they're ugly when school ends, but they have a summer and they get tan and they put that sun in their hair. And by the time next semester starts, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those pimples went away. Okay.
You got them braces taken off.
Right. So you just never know. You can't throw out any jersey just yet.
It's funny how that works. Like those jerseys were ugly, and then they make a renaissance in a rap video with an R&B chick. Try. Like,
I don't remember that.
Fabulous and
God.
video or something. I'm just saying, just general, you know what I'm saying?
Just like them Charger baby blues.
Yeah.
Ask Freezy about that LaDainian Tomlinson baby blue.
Oh, yeah.
I can't recall. I can neither confirm nor deny. that jersey was the point of a conversation that took probably too long to get to the end of it.
I think the Chargers have been underrated as far as their whole catalog of jerseys have all been pretty fire.
Yeah, then the dark blue, the navy.
Yeah, even them dark ones look good.
Yeah, even those.
Yeah, there's the Natron Mean ones.
Yeah, the Marion Butts Natron Means. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean they just
Billy Joe
what
Tolliver.
Yeah, they went to one Super Bowl. Maybe that Doug Flutie one, right? Maybe that's the one. But didn't they go to one Super Bowl?
I think they did. But the Doug Flutie one looked like a onesie though. When Doug Flutie had it on, it looked like it snapped between the legs.
It sort of was a one. I mean, but either way.
Yeah. So y'all. So I got to ask this question. Right, because when I got the topic, I think it may have been Tuesday when I got the topic. But man, I'm in that time with the Medicare stuff. We super busy. I'll look at your text and I'll be like, okay, I'll get to it. But anyways, the conversation, right? Just the topic to me is intriguing that Van Halen is the topic of conversation for bands from about. I don't know what year they started. What I recall is early 80s Van Halen. I don't know if it's like from 75 to 85 or from 75 to like 88-ish or something. I don't know. But I
think their catalog is 79 through the 90s if you take both incarnations. But the album that's probably the most famous in terms of what you would have probably picked up along the way is ironically named 1984.
Yeah.
1984 was a great year too, by the way.
I don't know, man. At any rate. 94 was good too.
I think 1978 was their first.
Okay. So they probably were together a little bit longer than that.
Right.
go through things, and then finally get their deal in there, do their
That one
stuff.
in 1984 were actually their two best-selling. They were diamond status. Both had over 10 million copies.
Is that the one with Jump on it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
84's Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher,
Okay. Okay.
where they introduced the synthesizer. Ironically, Eddie Van Halen sort of left the guitar behind.
Oh wow.
He pulled a Rush move with Geddy Lee started adding the synthesizers.
Yeah.
And ironically, if you listen to that album, Alex Van Halen, the brother, his drums really, really stand out on that particular album. Also, the last album that David Lee Roth played on.
Hey, Tori B says in 1994, the greatest hip hop album from of all time was dropped. The Sun Rises in the East was dropped in 1994. The greatest album from. That's just a little thing. But hey, but Teddy, let me ask you this. So Eddie Van Halen was a decent guitar player, right?
I would think he's considered a virtuoso.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson used him, talking about 1984. I mean, he was on Beat It.
Yeah. I'm joking with Tori B because I know a lot of people just when it comes to like years of music. I'm messing with Tori B, but when we talk about years of music, would you consider Van Halen like maybe the best band of that era that you're mentioning, like 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87?
If you like hard rock, they were in the conversation.
Okay.
I mean, if the aliens came down and found Van Halen won, role was, I'd be okay with that.
Try. I think I have an argument, and I'm trying to hold it back.
I think they were the beacon and flag bearers of American like party rock.
Yeah.
Like arena party kind of, and that a lot of that had to do with a couple things, like obviously the persona of David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
He was an entertainer on stage and all that stuff. And then the flamboyance of Eddie with his fingers and his guitars and his, he had a personality to him too, and the rhythm section kind of kicked back, but Alex's playing, the drummer, it definitely stood out, to musicians, especially the beginning of Hot for Teacher, that little drum intro thing he does that.
I have a friend, a really good friend, right, that would argue you two guys into a coma over a band that was out around the same time, maybe. I think they travels to group AC/DC. Is that them?
No. I don't.
Yeah,
but
but
I guess
they're not American.
I know.
But the thing is, it's funny how.
Oh no! Wait! And I'm sorry, I cut you up. No, I didn't know that. I thought, I didn't. It didn't dawn on me. It didn't dawn on me. So.
They're from Australia, right?
Yeah, and in fairness, like Van Halen, AC/DC had two separate runs. They had the Bon Scott era, which was mid-70s, and he died, 78, 79? And then Brian Johnson's, whose first album was Back in Black, which might have been their best album ever. I don't know I don't think the bands are similar enough to compare them, but you could argue whether one was bigger than the other in terms of their level of influence. I mean, you can't deny AC/DC's level of influence.
Right. I'm not familiar enough with Van Halen to be honest. So I was gonna let you guys chop it up, man.
So here, can I introduce the premise that I text you about?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, I have some notes on everything I did too for each thing.
Oh,
all
yeah.
right, so Coach, I want to throw this out, and everybody else that's on there, I'm going to bring in other things. As I'm getting older, I was thinking early Van Halen versus old new Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, to me is the same as Michael Jackson versus Prince. And let me explain.
Right.
The young, rebellious, I don't want to say Hellraiser in all of us is early Van Halen, David Lee Roth, right? And then along the way, we mature.
Right.
And we go, oh, Sammy Hagar Van Halen, completely different, but very good.
Yeah.
It's a difference. It's a childish Van Halen. I'm hell-raising. Oh, yeah. I've grown up and I'm now drinking brandy as opposed to Bush Light, or I'm smoking cigars as opposed to whatever I can steal from my dad's drawer. Yeah. And I thought about when it hit me, the same thing with Michael Jackson versus Prince. I think Michael Jackson's the music you play when the kids are awake, and then you send the kids to bed, and then you put on Prince so the adults can finish the party. And it just hit me that along the way, Van Halen, early Van Halen is immature teenager, where Michael Jackson is a little innocent teenager. And then you've got your grown-up music. You've settled down with Sammy Hagar. And then if the adults are going to be adults, they introduce Prince back in. And I don't know if y'all even understand or buy what I'm saying.
I totally agree. The other analogy that's similar that I thought of was Van Halen's like your high school sweetheart, or that fun, sexy little party girl you used to have fun with. But the Sammy Hagar Van Halen's the girl you married.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, that's what kind of reminds me of that. Like, because although I have a soft spot for some of the songs in the incarnation of the David Lee Roth era, I'm Team Hagar as far as Van Halen goes, and that even became, and that came out when I was still fairly young, and I prefer that sound to their, because I saw it as the same way. Like Van Halen to me, and a lot of this is, I think, David Lee Roth's fault or whatever. It just always felt campy and too like, look at me kind of. Although I did like, he did have some cool singing moments, and he was obviously a talented singer.
He was also a talented showman.
Right.
All right. Coach, do you like, and Freezy, you can look the parallel up on these, and I don't want to leave out the Michael Jackson Prince. Coach, you're a well-rounded music guy. Mm-hmm. Is Eat 'Em and Smile better than 5150?
I think 5150 is it's a pretty slept-on album to me.
Sure.
Not to fans of them or people that really delved into rock in that era, but to me, 5150 has always been, there's the obvious songs that are on there. Like Dreams and
right,
Why Can't This Be Love and all that, but it's one of those things where the other songs on the album are just, there's like just these little gems in there, you know. I mean, old 5150, the song 5150 is one of them, you know. And I'm sure we'll get into the, I don't know what part of it was like, who was the better front man situation, like what part of this we're talking about right now.
Well, so when did am I wrong about Michael Jackson and Prince?
No, that's
at some point Michael Jackson just feels, is it just too poppy, or am I discounting how good it is by just saying, I mean, I know he's labeled the king of pop, but am I discounting how good and all it is by just saying at some point it starts, like when he's singing Black and White, it's kind of poppy, right?
Yeah. Like, to me, I don't know if it's partly something that's happened in me as an older, more mature person now in my life. And obviously my tastes have broadened, and it's sort of like, you know, when the first time you take a sip of wine, it's kind of like, ugh, bitter. You acquire this taste for it, you know, a lot of things like that. Same thing for me with not only with a certain artist's arc that they go on their self, because a lot of artists go through their own transformation. But like, as far as Michael Jackson goes, there's early bangers I go to that are just, I always love to listen to, like Rock With You, like from his early days, and, you know, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and, you know, PYT, you know, then there's obviously the obvious ones, the Billie Jeans and all that. But some of my favorite Michael Jackson tunes that hit me in my heart, and like, I love What About Us, you know, Stranger in Moscow, Liberian Girl. Like, there's these other tracks that aren't part of his poppy checklist, you know what I mean, or most populars. You know, even like, you know, Heal the World, you know,
Right.
Just like a lot of his more adult and like worldly content, you know, some of those two. And then when he came out with, to me, it was a very slept on album, was his Butterflies album he did. Like, I really liked a lot of those tunes that were on that album. He kind of had that he kind of went more R&B-ish with that one, you know. And I can even say the same for Prince. Like, Prince had that era when he changed his name to The Symbol, and he had the group with the two chicks, and you know, did the song Cream and Diamonds and Pearls and all that. I liked a lot of that, a lot. You know, I liked some of those just as much as his old Purple Rain days stuff, you know. So but yeah, no, I agree 100% that when I'm in more of a music nerd, kind of mature, grown folky mood, I'll definitely rather, you know, listen to the Prince than the Michael Jackson, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Freezing, if you want to tear up something, play early Van Halen. If you want to do a deconstruction project, play some early Van Halen. Or if you want to work out, play early Van Halen. In fact, if you want to know if Eddie Van Halen's a good guitarist, when you hear on Wild Thing by Tone Loc where it goes, wow, wow, that was stolen from Jamie's Crying.
Yeah. Wow. Jamie's Crying.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Anybody else going to jump in on Michael Jackson, Prince, or anything?
I think the Michael thing, like going back to Black and White. Black and White was edgy because it had more of a pop rock sound to it, but it was with a message, you
Right.
know, and especially like when you see the video and what they could do with the special effects in that. And like Coach said, I think it's more of a preference thing. Like if you want to hear the big pop tunes and you know the songs with the message, you listen to Michael. If you want to hear the more adult type of tunes, you listen to Prince. But Prince also had songs with the message in it. If you listen to Money Don't Matter Tonight, and he's talking about the war, and he's talking about the homelessness and you know things that are still going on in this country now. That's one of my favorite songs from the Love Symbol, not Love Symbol, the Diamonds and Pearls album. And you know the most beautiful girl in the world. That's an innocent song about you know a pretty woman, and he wasn't you know it wasn't overly sexualized or whatever. And you know he has songs like that, but you know he's more famous for the more adult type of songs or whatever. And he's more of a musician. Like that's the musicianship in him as an artist. I think is what people really gravitate to more. Where Michael's more of a showmanship. Like he was a great dancer. He influenced a whole generation and still influencing a lot of artists out there. And that's how I separate the two. But I think both of them are legends, and I really didn't see you know the debate about Michael and Prince until I got on social media. You know, because back in the '80s there wasn't really no debate. It was either you loved Michael or Prince, and that was it. But like now, it's more of a debate, and you know who's better. And I just feel like both of them are legends. I don't really like to compare the two because I grew up with both of them as a kid. But I think you know the difference I see like Prince is more of a musician and Michael is more of an entertainer and more showman.
hmm and the parallel to that with Van Halen is, you know, Sammy Hagar was the superior musician, like
Yeah,
coming
Yeah.
into the band as a front man,
And
like David,
David Lee and Michael were showmen.
right?
right.
And like Sammy Hagar, which Sammy Hagar's don't don't get it twisted. His singing prowess, that guy has got some chops. I mean, he's got a pretty impressive range himself. Um, and what's cool about you know his powerful voice and his range and the things he did, you know, it helped the band like explore more complex musical journeys and territories, you know. And because Sammy Hagar was he was kind of a rock singer songwriter and guitarist himself, he was a great collaborator for Eddie Van Halen. You know, it took Eddie Van Halen to another, you know, route where they did more layered and intricate like compositions than you know what they did before with David Lee Roth.
And ironically, Prince may be a better guitarist
Yeah, oh yeah.
than Sammy. I don't know if Prince is better than Eddie, but Sammy cut his first teeth as a guitarist, but Prince might ultimately
Oh
be
yeah.
a better guitarist.
Oh yeah. Prince as a guitarist. I mean, I know he got a snub on that. They did some, I think, Guitar Magazine or something, or Hard Rock, or I don't know, some publication listed the top 100 guitarists of all time or whatever crap. And they didn't put Prince on the list.
How can they
And
name 100 better anything than Prince?
Crazy.
yeah, and then like that's when they did that tribute to I think George Harrison or something because he had just, and then Prince did that little solo, and he kind of, it was kind of right around the time he got that snub, and he his solo lasted a little longer. You know?
Yeah, he wanted to prove himself.
Yeah,
Have you
then
guys ever seen Morris Day and the Time live?
Nah,
no,
never
not
seen it.
live, but I mean, I've seen videos of it.
We
them,
saw him. We saw him live 1,000 years ago, and my first impression was, "Oh my God, this is a rock band," because they came out with heavy guitar, heavy. I mean, they did their classics, right?
Right.
But if you go back and listen to Morris Day and the Time, they have hints of a rock band. I mean, I know they did their thing, but I don't think they, because we're talking about the Prince era and the guitar stuff, they obviously came up under his tutelage. And if you go back and listen musically to them, you could close your eyes and see a rock show.
Yeah, well, I think, well, I've always thought that they got, because Prince is one of those artists that has got just catalogs and catalogs of material that he don't always use. I think he threw, because for Prince to come out with rocky sounding stuff, then it didn't fit what he was doing and was expected of him. I mean, he did have a genreless kind of vibe, but for him to sound rock-ish only, or wouldn't be
Right.
Prince. He could have pulled it off, obviously, but it didn't fit. Like back then, you kind of had to fit into this little,
He could have never done Nothing Compares to You.
right.
He could have never released that, or Manic Monday, or any of that.
Right. So I think Morris Day and the Time were the beneficiary of some of Prince's
That makes sense.
material that he didn't use. Like, here's the ditty I'm working on. You guys can use it. Kind of a thing.
Yeah, I would sign off on that.
Yeah. I always joked because I wasn't the hugest Morris Day and the Time fan, but I always jokingly said that's where all the Prince's leftover material that wasn't good enough for his albums that went to Morris Day for them to use.
It's probably not a joke. It's probably
I mean, it might
really
some
happened.
truth to it. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have happen. To have Prince's leftovers.
No, because he was prolific. Good. I mean, he made a lot of money divvying out his music to other people.
Yeah. And but yeah, that's why for me, the parallel with Hagar being the musician, he had more of an input in the music and the band, and he was more of like a bandmate, like part of the band than like David Lee Roth was that stereotypical front man. It's like,
right.
You know what I mean? And it had its time. It still does have its time in one way or another. But could that old Van Halen shtick with David Lee Roth work today? I don't know.
He's touring.
Yeah.
But he has added 4 backup singers. The stuff I've heard him do, I think it's better if he just lets it sunset. But
yeah, I agree.
But I mean, he's 70-something years old. I don't want to see him in tights, jumping around.
No, he's been
throwing out his hip.
This weird, like the way he looks and that shimmy he does and his face he makes. Yeah, I just he's him and Axl Rose and some of these guys need to just hang it up, dude.
No, Axl looks and sounds bad.
Yeah, so I feel bad because it's a shame because the rest of Guns N' Roses, they're all still really great musicians.
And didn't Michael Jackson use Slash in a song?
Oh yeah, I think he used Slash twice for
Mhm.
2 songs.
And he used Stevie Stevens from Billy Idol on Dirty Diana, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he have used Prince on an album? Their egos would have never. He should have let Prince play guitar on an album.
He was more willing to do it, but Prince was the one that had the problem.
Yeah, Prince and David Lee Roth are similar, and they're both egomaniacs.
Yeah.
And neurotic, and very neurotic.
But at least Prince, he has something to stand on, being an egomaniac. At least he can back it up. Like, to me, David Lee Roth, I just have never been a big, like, I love that era and some of those songs. The Panamas and the Jumps. And
Go back and listen to Van Halen 1.
Yeah, that's where they did the remake, or You Really Got Me and all that, right?
Right.
And Running with the Devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, that's my favorite David Lee Roth too, then. But he just rubbed me the wrong way over the years, the same way he rubbed the band the wrong way,
The same way he rubbed everybody the wrong way.
Yeah, just his antics. And I personally went through that in a band where we had a front man who, and I'm not saying as a singer or the front man of a band, you have to be a musician yourself, because your voice is an instrument. And I respect that too. But sometimes some of these front people who like to front a band and that's all they do is contribute that and not have other musicianship qualities. Like they treat the band like their backing band. You know what I'm saying? It's like this thing that happens with them sometimes, like they're the hired band that happens to be playing some music for you to sing to,
Freezy taught me a concept about something like that. Is like, hey, some people are just the talent, right? The talent don't come in and do it. The talent shows up, hit the mic, and go. Like, I know Freezy does a lot of production stuff, but ultimately Freezy's the talent, right?
Yeah.
Freezy's Prince. He's
on
Prince and Michael Jackson all at one time.
Yeah.
But they call it lead singer disease, right? LSD, lead singer disease.
Yeah.
Well, because the perfect example of the anti that, it's probably my favorite band of all time, Tool. Okay, their lead singer, Maynard James Keenan, he actually, when he sings on stage, he stands in the back when he sings in concert. Like, he's like even with the drummer, and the bassist and the guitarist are in the front. And he's always contributed. What I love about their music is I always hear his voice and his singing as a compliment to the music. It's like, and he even says that himself, when he does, he's not like, it's not like his voice is in the forefront.
I'll be right back.
It's a part of the music, and that's where, I can see like a David Lee Roth in the studio, like, you gotta turn up my vocals there, man.
Right.
There's not enough me right here.
Well, they said that same thing about Bob Weir, that if you didn't have an ego, you could be the best rhythm guitarist of all time. And they've always likened Bob Weir's success to being an egoless front man of the band and or guitarist of the band, whatever lead position he takes. But because he's void of the ego, he could team up with anybody and still be as good as anybody ever.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of super pop. what I think David Lee Roth had a problem with is, I mean, which I don't understand why, because you're in a band whose name
Is
is
somebody
the
else.
is the two other guys in your band, buddy. It's their band, you know, and I think it bothered him that Eddie got so popular, even though Eddie didn't, without trying, just playing and being Eddie on the music.
But I think it also
more popular.
bothered the brothers that DLR got so popular too.
Yeah.
I mean, there was an internal, well, like a lot of bands have internal pissing contests.
Right.
I mean, they almost inevitably all break up either over power or money.
Right. You know, and that's one thing about the band Pearl Jam. You know, obviously everyone automatically goes to, you know, Eddie Vedder,
Right,
you know, being the lead, but any true fans of that band, and they know that Stone Gossard and Mike McCready, the two guitarists of that band, are an integral, like, it's not like they've had just from the grunge era and on, their riffs and guitars, you know, just ring in your ears with all the things they've come up with over the years. And, you know, Eddie Vedder will be the first one to tell you that too, like them two guys.
but there is something about when he says, "I know someday you'll be you'll have a beautiful life," right?
Yeah.
In somebody else's sky.
Yeah, that's lyrics.
But why can't it be mine? There's something about when he delivers that it's hard to separate. I know someday you'll have a beautiful life, but it's going to be in somebody else's sky.
Yeah, that's one of the best rock you know, like in R&B, towards the end of a song, you know, they have the ad libs.
Right.
Baby, I know, I'll be right there. You know, like just stuff like that. But like that's like one of those end of the rock song ad libs that's so good, man. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think it has been burned in effigy, or not effigy, but it's been burned in the annals of history now, because it's as sad a line as any song has ever had, but it's also one of their, you know, hallmarks.
Yeah, Black. That's one of those karaoke go-tos. You know,
well, you better be good. You better be good if you're going to break that out at karaoke.
And then, you know, then there's the hooky, like do 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 do.
Yeah.
You know, that part. You know, but like, and that's something like, you know, for me, like I said, Van Hagar is just. When I go to Van Halen on my playlist and I want to start listening, I just gravitate towards those later Van Halen tunes. Like I like some of the synthesizer and piano work that Eddie did in some of those songs. Really good. You know, very slept on stuff.
Well, it sure showed their range.
Yeah.
Which I think is what they were ultimately trying to do. And David Lee was like, if it ain't broke, why are we fixing it?
Right.
We've got a proven formula. And also, if you think coming off of 1984, which was, I would assume, their most commercially successful album,
right.
Why would we change now? We've just conquered the world.
Yeah. And I think they, at the time they came out with that, I mean, the landscape of music changed as well. Like the 1984 album, that was the prime time of the glam rock, and the hair metal started getting popular, and that was prime kind of territory. Like Van Halen was, they went in a different lane than that. You know what I'm saying? Like they were like
Right.
the anti that. Like they were still the testosterone band. You know, they didn't go the glammy, erogenous, you know, gender bending look, you know, hair metal band thing, you know.
Well, they called glam rock gay LA music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like, you know, and that's
gay LA metal.
Right, yeah. And you can say who had a parallel rise, like they kind of came around the same time they did, and their music changed over time, like Bon Jovi. You know, they were never a full-on hair band, you know.
No, but the ladies loved them.
Oh yeah, of course.
The ladies sure loved them. I still haven't gotten over Freezy saying "Message in a Bottle's top 10." I've been thinking about that ever since then, and I'm like, this dude is in deep trouble here. We got to get. It might be Baker Mayfield on your bench. You know what I mean?
Hey, bro. Message in the Bottle is probably top 4 all time.
But
Wow.
do you even like ska music? I mean,
Me?
yeah, because I hear the Police and I hear Sublime. I hear the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Although it's a little more, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't get ska-ish from you though, Freezy. I mean, how many ska dudes are wearing butter Timberlands? Doc Martens, I get. If you were there in Doc Martens,
lace all the way up to the knee. I know, I get it. Right. Lace all the way up to the top button and tight. I get it, right? The Police. Oh man, what's happening?
Dude, we just named 4 bands. If you throw the Prince's band, we just named 7 or 8 bands just in a random conversation that I don't know that the Police could carry their guitar cases.
Hey, we gotta relax, bro. We gotta calm down, bro. And like, how many Mountain Dews are we in? Like 7?
Dude, I'm in a Sonic cookies and cream cheesecake milkshake. I'm liable to start a fight tonight.
I'm definitely a Police fan personally. Like I love the Police, but as much as I like Message in a Bottle, I don't even think it's barely a top 5 song from them in my eyes. And it's not. I'm not trying to poo-poo on your pick. And as far as Van Halen, like from the music nerds perspective, the best part of the Police is Stuart Copeland, you know, their drummer.
Yeah, I can see where you went, because again, you're approaching it from a musician standpoint.
Yeah, like Sting as a bass player is mid.
Right.
I forget the guitarist's name. It goes to show how much I really love
Andy,
yeah.
Andy something or other.
Yeah, and basically they rehashed old reggae, and Stuart Copeland put a jazzy
right. When I listen to it today,
sound to it.
I don't want to keep throwing ska out, but it sounds very ska to me.
Yeah.
You know, which is a little reggae-ish and a little British.
For sure.
Well, it's Irish. It's not British, but they'd fight you over that. But
especially when they, but they added like the horns and stuff a lot.
Right.
But that's where to be honest with you, I think, and this is something for some of you should go back and do if you haven't already, besides the popular stuff. As far as that style of music back then, Men at Work is better than that.
Then who?
Then the police. Bro, I'm telling you, if you listen to Business as Usual,
Bro,
that album.
I can't respect a group named Men at Twerk. Right? I just can't respect shit like
Men at Twerk.
Men at Twerk.
I can't respect a man called the police.
Bro, they the ops, bro. They telling you the ops. They not undercover. They telling you, bro. They got badges.
Yeah, but
on,
they're the British police cars that go. It's not even a good siren, dude.
I'm gonna tell you something, bro. That was real fucked up. That was some low down dirty shit.
Dude, don't let me drink no milkshake this late again. We liable to have a throwdown.
And Teddy, you'd appreciate this because you're kind of jam bandy guy. Colin Hay as a singer, like in recent, not too long ago, he kind of did his own like acoustic stuff. Like
I've seen the unplugged stuff he's doing.
Yeah. Oh man,
I've seen that, and it's a very different. But again, he's showing his range.
Yeah, he's got a couple. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. The song he's got, yeah, that's one of the best songs I've ever heard. And it's just him with his guitar. You know, it's so good. Him and his acoustic.
So Freezy, do you listen to Sting solo stuff? Because I mean, he's been prolific. Because when did the police break up? Like 86, 87, somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah.
Oh, I Sting solo stuff's really good too.
They broke up around like the time of, if I remember correctly, like this weird Depeche Mode type of era, like a lot of
God,
side. I don't want to call them side bands, but
side bands. Did you go gay clubbing when you were younger?
Oh my God,
Depeche Mode, seriously?
Bro,
how about the Smiths? Just throw Morrissey and the Smiths in, and we can all just sit and cry.
Bro, nah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I'm gonna throw Triborough under the bus, right? When you go to the club in Brooklyn, bro, you never know what's gonna happen in the clubs, bro.
Don't say that. There's a certain
they weren't playing Depeche Mode. I can tell you that.
Nope.
They weren't. Listen, you got to go to an emo club to get Depeche Mode. And I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm saying there's a lot of sugar in those grits. You know what I mean?
So Sting's first solo album was 1985.
Okay.
19 when?
85.
Okay.
So that's when he came out with
So he broke up about.
Love somebody.
Yeah, that means they broke up about what, 88?
But you know what's funny? They still can't stand each other. They've been on stage together, what, once or twice since then?
Which is so strange because Sting, he just comes across as this just zen kind of guy.
They can't stand it, dude.
I think y'all love Sting, bro. I think y'all actually love Sting, bro.
I think it's because Stuart Copeland's an American and they're from England. Something didn't click there. The personalities. Because Stuart Copeland he don't give a shit. He's like, look at that person. He goes, I'm going to play this. I don't care what you say.
I just don't think I don't respect groups like Queen and the Police, bro.
That's the
who and the Police.
Why are you lumping them together? That ain't
Queen.
Listen, a conversation.
That's like you trying to say, like, oh, I don't understand why you don't like, what's this problem you guys have with bands like,
Everybody on your chat is heard
because I've had legitimate separate conversations with different people on this panel.
The Isley Brothers and Boys to Men, they're just.
They always bring up this British band call the Beatles as if the Beatles are the GOAT of this rock thing. The Beatles
But
is right.
but the
They were
Beatles
all
aren't
right.
even rock. The Beatles aren't even rock anymore. You gotta, I mean, in
It's so
fairness, without the Beatles, none of these other bands get started.
I
Like
get it.
all those
That's like-
bands you loved in the 70s and hold on this mantle, including the Police. Interview them, and they'll all talk about the Beatles as their influences,
I'm trying to get y'all,
including Queen.
Y'all don't even show love for the Who or Led Zeppelin. Every time we get together, it's always like,
What are you talking about?
You're crazy, dude. Led Zeppelin. Come on now. Come on.
Come on. Oh, hold on, man. So
For the record, I love
when we
Robert
get together,
Plant's
you're telling
solo stuff.
Yeah.
we talk about Led Zeppelin, and we don't talk about the Grateful Dead.
Because Led Zeppelin's like, without saying, it's like when we're talking about the best pop music of all time, or we'd be wasting our time talking about Michael Jackson. That's just without saying. Like, why even bother? You can spend the whole hour talking about him. Like, say that's what it's like with rock. Why bring up Led Zeppelin? That's the obvious. It's easy to talk about Led Zeppelin. They're the best. I mean, I'm not. If as a rock guy and a rock musician myself, I can tell you just from a rock musician standpoint, any rock musician that's picked up a guitar or a bass or the drums, or any singer, rock singer who belts, there's two ranges that go with rock lead men. There's the whoa singers, the opera, the guys that are the belters and the screamers and all that. They're the Robert Plant guys. Then you got the crooner sounding like the Eddie Vedder kind of rock singers, the baritone like the Stat from Creed. Those guys are the Jim Morrison guys. You know, that's their go-to for their singing influence. But as far as Robert Plant goes, he's the one that when you start learning rock, you start trying to sing his stuff. But same thing with the riffs by Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin, and the bass playing and the John Bonham drumming. That's like not to say that their stuff is kindergarten stuff, but that's when you're in the school of rock. That's kindergarten and first grade, what you learn first. That's like Led Zeppelin's learning how to color between the lines. It's like you got to have the Led Zeppelin foundation in your music library to be a rock artist. You just have to, you know.
Now, have you listened to Greta Van Fleet?
Oh, of course. That's who I was trying to. Trying to get Freezy to listen to him.
They have channeled their inner Robert Plant.
Oh, for sure. But the more I've listened to them on their own, they have their own sound.
Right, you know? They're good. They're very good, especially for a young band. But Free, I don't think you have Queen if you don't have Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know the drumming, the high range vocalist, the musician stuff. Queen definitely takes some nods from Led Zeppelin. First of all, you could take Whole Lot of Love by Led Zeppelin. And if the aliens came back and you said, give me one song to represent rock and roll, Whole Lot of Love. It's dirty. It's grimy. It's got entendres. I want to give you every inch of my love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
about time y'all recognizing Led Zeppelin. Hey, chat, listen. For everybody watching live and for everybody that's going to watch this on replay, just want to reiterate that all of us know each other. And so some of the conversation we're having is based on conversations we've had previously. Like there's an ongoing behind the scenes thing. So when I hear Teddy talk about Led Zeppelin, it's kind of like warming my heart a little bit. At the same time, I can just feel the anger coming off Coach Like, I ain't talking about Led Zeppelin. I can feel it, bro. I can feel it.
What are you talking
Bro,
about?
bro, why you hate Led Zeppelin, bro? And the Police.
What? Why are you? Did you not just hear my rant on how important and how great Led Zeppelin is? I didn't say that about the Police.
Those other dudes from the Police are starting to get money though, because they said Sting gets like $900,000 a year from Every Breath You Take, and those other dudes are like, "Oh, boys, going to pay up now." And I think they're finally starting to get their residuals from that song.
Okay.
No. I mean, I Puff would have to take. I mean, Puff kind of oiled that one through to newer generations.
For some of you younger fans out there, Puff to us is Diddy.
Or Diddy.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
The
Diddy.
He's like goes through all those.
He from Brooklyn, right?
Name change.
No, you're not. He's from Harlem.
Hey, I'm just
You
glad
don't claim
he
him.
didn't-
Claiming him.
I'm glad he took that song and not Give You Every Inch of My Love, Every Inch of My Lube, or whatever it was. You know,
Although did he sample Led Zeppelin? No.
Yeah.
Cashmere, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but in fairness, everybody has sampled.
Yeah.
Freezy, you remember the band White Snake?
Yeah.
Oh, they were the first Led Zeppelin
Yeah.
copy.
Robert Plant used to call their singer, his name's David Coverdale. He used to call him David Cover Version.
Yeah.
But Tawny Katane on the Jaguar, Tawny Katane on the Jaguar, I'll take whatever you throw.
I gotta tell a story just real quick, right? So back in the day, long time ago, let's just say 30, somewhere between 20 and 30 years ago, at a Christmas party with somebody on the panel, right? I'm not gonna say who or where, right? But we have this conversation, like we're just talking about music, right? And I mentioned like, yeah, man, I like Phil Collins. I just don't like Genesis, right? And so this conversation morphs into the Beatles, and true story. God says, the Beatles are everywhere, right? The Beatles are the greatest band of all time. You can't even watch a Nike commercial without seeing the Beatles. This is what this person tells me, right? And I think about it, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Nike commercial and the Beatles? That don't even go together. And so the person, very knowledgeable music person, tells me, you remember the shoe? And this person is a shoe expert, by the way, too. And so he says, you remember the commercial for the Air Revolution? And I'm like, yeah, I love that commercial, bro. And he was like, yo, the song that was in Air Revolution is a song by the Beatles. And I'm like, I'm thinking like, racking my mind like, Air Revolution. I'm like, no, that's not. That can't be true. And so this conversation leads to this White Snake portion of the conversation. Like, the lead singer from such and such and such, called the lead singer of White Snake, because the person that tried to jump in the conversation was another friend of ours, and he liked this band, or he was listening to a band called Rat. I don't know if y'all remember that band or not.
Oh yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, man, I like
Round and around.
Comes around, goes around.
I'm not a fan. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying I'm just not
that song I like.
Yeah. But he says, in White Snake. And if I'm correct, he may have had a White Snake t-shirt on.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You don't think so?
I don't know that anybody's ever worn a White Snake t-shirt.
Yeah, I think I know a guy that used to do fantasy football with us.
Well, David Coverdale actually did an album with Jimmy Page.
Oh, blasphemy. Blasphemy.
Yeah. In like 93, they did a dual album together. It's called Coverdale Page.
So what's the
I remember that Coverdale Page now that you say that.
I think I heard of that too.
Now that you mention it, I got you. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know this because at the time Whitesnake came out, I was still, I was fairly young, but I was old.
They came out around the same time as Kiss, right?
Kiss predated them, but your
Yeah.
introduction to Kiss would have been at a similar time.
Early. Yeah, but
About 28.
but Whitesnake, when they got MTV popular,
Was about 83
with Tawny Katane dancing and all that stuff. I was old enough to enjoy looking at her. I'll put it that way.
87 or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't know this at the time because I wasn't really a musician historian yet and didn't really like delve back into.
Whitesnake were popular in 87.
Maybe earlier than that, 86, 87.
Yeah,
I thought they were like 83.
No, Whitesnake was like mid to late 80s. Like Still the Night was. That was like probably 86.
What about Poison? Because I always have Poison, Whitesnake, Rat.
That's around that time too.
Yeah, I always.
They're all
it's all the same time period.
Oh, okay.
See, Whitesnake, they didn't go. They weren't like the full glam band, the hair metal. They kind of stayed in that kind of more testosterone lane, even though they had the big hair. But well, what I didn't know was that David Coverdale was the lead singer of Deep Purple.
Somebody on this panel told me that one.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like he was that. I got to go back and like, oh wow, he was their second singer. Actually,
that man probably know more about music than he can remember because I remember Teddy telling me that because I never even heard of Deep Purple.
I'm also old, brother. But for the record, Freezy, your true Rat enthusiast would scoff at you lumping them in with Poison.
No, that's Poison. Not Poison for sure. No.
Yeah, because Rat folks.
Maybe Motley Crue.
Yeah, maybe Motley Crue. But if you go back and listen to Rat, it feels a little dated to me.
Yeah.
Not that everything doesn't have a timestamp, but it feels a little dated when I occasionally listen to Rat. You want a bad Whitesnake joke? A stupid one? Me and Nicole were going to karaoke Whitesnake, but she chickened out. So here I go again on my own. You got to go back a long way.
You got to understand the punchline.
I got another one, and if you know this one, you're really too old. Me and Nicole were gonna lip sync Kaja Gugu, but she was too shy.
Shy. Hey, their bass player used to rip though.
So the Van Halen thing, I just wanted to get some pointers on the Van Halen thing, right? Because when I was researching it for the show, the point that stood out mostly was they went from being Jump and being like competitors with people like Huey Lewis in the News for radio plays. I'm not talking about in genre.
Right.
I'm talking about for radio plays, right? So they go from that. The wisdom, the conventional wisdom is they went from that to being hardcore, deep-seated musicians that care more about the art than care about MTV, basically, right? But what I don't understand is how they got there and why they made the switch based off of just changing one person in the band, right? And my comparison is when Kool and the Gang added a lead singer, they went from a funk, deep soul, pseudo jazz band with songs like Summer Madness to adding an R&B lead singer, and then they were Joanna. But they did that intentionally to get to the radio. They knew that they wouldn't survive if they didn't get to what was being played on the radio. So I'm asking y'all, if Van Halen was dope and had diamond albums, why would they make the switch and go to musicianship and get away from selling millions and millions and millions and millions of records? Was that a them trying to get back to their roots? Maybe they only did radio stuff in order to get popular just so that they can get to their roots? Or was that a line of demarcation, like, hey, if we keep sounding like this, then we won't last for long?
So first of all, with the Kool and the Gang stuff, I feel a little misled, but but it was fresh either way. So if I can take some of this, Coach, and you correct me if I'm wrong. So first, they had 4 or 5 super successful albums before 1984. They had already sold out every arena, and they had already cataloged historically good music. And also, you ever been in a fantasy football league where one owner was just a dud or a dick, and so you told him, we're closing the league just so his ass would go on somewhere? I know you did, because I know I was in one of those leagues where you did it. We won't call anybody's name, but David Lee Roth was such a...
But he wouldn't trade Priest Holmes. I'll just say it that way.
So, first of all, the Van Halen brothers are very neurotic, and they are artistes, okay? Because if you listen to David Lee's solo albums, they sound exactly like Van Halen albums. So a lot of what you said was right. That is a moment of demarcation of the evolution of the band, and they were done with David Lee. For them to grow, they had to dump him, because again, that was their 5th or 6th really successful album.
Okay.
And the thing is, because this is what happens when a lead singer is only a lead singer and not the music guy. When David Lee Roth went off and did his own thing, when he wanted to bring in, guys to play in his band like Steve Vai, because Steve, I don't know if you guys know who Steve Vai is, but, the guitarist. He brought him in and other musicians. He basically told them, I kind of want that same, most of the guys that played for David Lee Roth idolized Eddie Van Halen and that early Van Halen sound. So when David Lee Roth's like, oh, this is the sound I want to keep, it was easy for them to emulate that sound, still in David Lee Roth's solo stuff. Okay. Where, like you said, Eddie and Alex and Michael Anthony, they were probably maturing. We're ready to move on to some other stuff.
Right.
So they had the, what's that called? Creative differences thing.
Correct.
And it happens, bro. This happens.
It happens to almost every band.
Right. It happened to New Edition. Remember what New Edition was before Johnny Gill?
Right.
Can y'all please tell me the truth? Did Ralph Tresvant sing Bobby Brown singles?
Yes.
So we could bet a Diet Mountain Dew on my
that was not Ralph Tresvant.
He background. He was on background vocal.
Yeah.
Nah, bro. I saw the interview where Ralph said it out of his own mouth.
No, Ralph is lying.
I can tell the difference between Ralph and Bobby, bro.
I'm saying, so this is how, and I want to do the Van Halen thing, because to me it's interesting, because I don't know like the intricate details. All I can go by is what Google says and research. But what the truth of the matter is that Ralph sang demo tracks for Bobby Brown, right? So Bobby would know how to sing songs, and then in production they kept Ralph, and Bobby sung over the top of Ralph. That's
I don't buy
it.
That checks out for me.
Yep. That's what.
But it's not like Bobby was. But it's not like Bobby wasn't singing lead on
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Especially when
He's saying all right.
Babyface is in there, and he's the
Right.
now. If you told me Babyface sang all the tracks for Bobby to sing
Hey,
over,
man.
I believe that.
Hey, coach. I think
He's the one that wrote them.
if Babyface would have kept all his songs for himself, he'd be the greatest artist of all time, right? But Babyface ain't a singer like that, though, dog. He can sing, but he's not probably the third best singer in his own family.
He's a better singer than Bobby Brown.
I agree. I agree with you.
So
I don't know.
he gave Bobby Brown some bangers to sing.
Yeah.
Well, and Bobby capitalized. We have to give Bobby the nod for
But they're not better
capitalizing.
performers than Bobby, bro. They're not better performers than Bobby.
No
Right.
chance. No
Yeah,
chance. He's a showman.
That's the thing. When you put Bobby Brown's name on side, even right now, if Bobby drops something, and we know that he's fat and out of shape and got a heart condition and all this stuff, if he dropped the album tonight, it would sell, bro.
No, it wouldn't. It would not. So
The Ghostbuster song was horrible, by the way.
Yeah.
The Ghostbuster song was horrible, but I get why they did it.
You know it.
Oh,
I did some research. So technically, the Van Halen thing with the album sales, right?
Okay.
Only 2 of the David Lee Roth album sales were, I mean, not that 3 million isn't successful. Obviously that's successful. But like their first one was 11 mil. Then their second one was 5 million. Then they had a 3 million, a 2 million, a 4 million. And then 1984, they came back and had an 11 million sales. So now when they came out in 86 with Sammy, they sold 6 million albums.
Wait, coach. Let me ask you a question right there. Not to stop the momentum, but just so I can follow along. So Sammy Hagar joins in '86 is what you're telling me.
Yes,
right. That was their first album.
Okay.
So that sold 6 million.
What did Eat 'em and Smile sell?
Which one?
Eat 'em and Smile.
Which album was that?
That's David Lee's first solo.
Oh, I didn't even look.
It was the answer to 5150, or at the same time period. And for Freezy, it was the Beatles doing Sgt. Pepper to the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, since you want to hear about the Beatles so much.
Hey. I talked this dude about 3 o'clock in the morning one night about the Beatles versus the Beach Boys, bro.
Which, by the way, the Beach Boys are garbage. I can't even. But while Coach is looking that up,
it went platinum.
Okay.
Had 1 million copies.
So 5150 sold 6 million, and Eat 'em and Smile sold 1 million. So the consumers of the world preferred Sammy Hagar Van Halen to David Lee Roth sounding like Van Halen.
Yeah.
Just an interesting number. So Freezy, if you want to look at it in a weird way, you remember when Razor Ramon left WWE and he just had to be Scott Hall, but it was the same shtick?
Yeah.
That's David Lee Roth without Van Halen. And Hulk Hogan turning into Hollywood Hogan is Van Halen without David Lee Roth.
Wow.
The most popular
Hulk. The most popular Hulk Hogan. Okay. All right.
I mean, again, listen, it's late at night, and I had to film a high school football game from the end zone tonight, which I had 10 minutes of training. So
from the end zone, bro.
From the end zone. It was so that they could identify the gaps and everything.
Yeah, I was about to say that's an important film for the coach.
Yeah, every series we had to rush the video. I mean, I didn't realize how big of a deal it was, but it's a very big deal for the coaching staff.
Oh wow.
Of course, I didn't get paid, and I had to bum a Diet Mountain Dew from a lady in the stands, but whatever.
I mean,
whatever.
Yeah.
But technically,
Are we?
the new Van Halen, besides those two big ones they had, their first one and last one sold the most.
I'm trying to get to a question with y'all though, Coach.
All right.
And so here's my question: Are we alluding to Van Halen being the greatest band of all time? Is that where we're headed?
No,
They're pretty.
not me.
They're pretty
they're
effing good.
But the numbers indicate that if they are firmly in the conversation.
If you're gonna talk rock to hard rock, they're as successful as any band has ever been. But you can't compare them to the Eagles. Well, even the Police. We'll go back to your band, the Police. It's two different things, but in their space, they're as good as anybody who's ever been.
So my unit of measure is not how platinum Van Halen went, but how many times they went platinum with different albums and different concepts.
Just about every time.
Because yeah, this is what I'm getting at, just so that I can get a greater respect for not only the conversation but for the band itself. Like every now and then, a group will come along and have a platinum album, right? Iggy Azalea,
right?
You know what I'm saying? It will come along. But to repeat that over and over and over and over and over to the point where if your album only sells 3 million, it's a disappointment.
Right.
Seems to me that we should consider Van Halen one of the greatest bands of all time. Right now, I don't want to, do the ranking because I haven't heard every band in every genre and things like that. But it sounds like Van Halen is a top 3 band of all time. If you talk about the number of times they went platinum,
well,
right?
The thing is,
and with member changes, usually when a band has a member change, there is some type of transition period, so to speak.
Bruce Jenner had a good member change.
And transition. Yeah.
And a good transition. Hell of a transition.
Here's the thing about album sales, though. You got to understand the scope of the world and what was album buying and when the CDs came into play and the tape, like all the whole album sales thing and all that. Those stats are very like the early Van Halen things. Yeah, Van Halen sold 10 million albums, but you want to know what that album peaked at in the Billboard? 19.
And it also was 5 or 6 years before MTV came out.
Right. And here's the thing. Here's a cool, if you want to go tit for tat. Out of all the Diamond David Lee Roth albums, 0 David Lee Roth albums with Van Halen were on the Billboard's number 1. 1984 peaked at number 2. Diver Down peaked at number 3, number 5, number 6. They were close. But all 4 of Sammy Hagar's Van Halen studio albums with Van Halen were number 1 on the Billboard charts at one time.
Right, and this is and just to be clear,
which is surprising. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Wait. So my question to you is: number 1 in music or number 1 in genre? Because
the Billboard the Billboard 200 chart.
Okay, because in fairness and no disrespect to groups like Guns N' Roses and groups like that came along a little bit later, in this certain era, the Hagar era, right? There was a lot of great music out around 1982, 1983, 1984. A lot of competition. It's kind of like when we compare Carl Lewis and Usain Bolt, right? Like we're like, man, Carl Lewis, man, getting all these medals, man. Carl Lewis was great in his time, he really didn't have competition in his era. Like the Usain Bolt era, Usain Bolt made all these guys that had the potential to be number one in the world. He made them look mortal, right?
Yeah.
And it's not saying that Carl Lewis didn't beat guys, right? Usain Bolt was beating these guys by distances. And it's kind of like when you compare a rookie Randy Moss to a veteran Chris Carter. Chris Carter was great before Randy Moss got there, right? The Vikings had great receivers before Randy Moss got there. If you talk about Chris Carter, Jake Reed, and what's the guy's son, the coach's son? Chris Walsh was their third receiver, their slot receiver. So their third receiver, he was a slot guy back then. We didn't know what to call it back then because it wasn't really a thing like now, right? Randy Moss get there, bro, and we probably don't even remember how good Jake Reed was for a time, right? Or Chris Walsh, right? And so that's what I'm saying about the post when they changed lead singers and they had success. No disrespect to Poison, right? Or New Edition or whoever was out from 86 to infinity, right? We know 82, 83, 84 was a very special time in music. Y'all mentioned it at the beginning of the show, how special that thing was. Just by y'all mentioning Michael Jackson and Prince alone, not mentioning how hot Lionel Richie was during that time, right? And a bunch of other good artists out in that 82, 83, 84. We could even say Run DMC was great in 82, 83, 84. So not saying that not saying that Hagar was a better lead singer. I'm saying that maybe we should consider the time, right? Like maybe we should consider the field as opposed to because in that same post 86 era, Milli Vanilli was out.
Yeah, but you can make the argument though, because as far as the Billboard 200 is concerned, that's all genres.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You talk about 85, 86 and beyond, you're adding rap now in the mix that's popular, like R&B, pop. All the pop groups started becoming way more popular, like the New Kids on the Blocks of the world and
your Madonna is on fire in that era.
There's like huge. So the competition was still, and you're talking about the MTV era at that was prime, the peak.
Yeah,
like
that's the
that's
87, 88.
Yeah, that's if you want to go to a time when someone says like, what's the golden years of the golden age of MTV? That's like 88, like those late 80s, mid to late 80s, like MTV was like, that was.
Yep. Y'all mind talking about that? Y'all mind if I break that down a little bit? The difference between 82 to 85 and 86 to 89? Not to get too deep into the minutia, but basically what I'm hearing is from about 81 to 85, the recognizable stars dominated the charts. And then from about 87 to 90, the field was maybe not having the megastar, but the field was deeper. Is that what I'm hearing?
Ooh, the field was heavy from 85 to 90. I mean, the field was heavy.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of talent and just diverse talent.
Yeah. Other bands' primes were at that time too, like Bon Jovi, U2, Guns N' Roses,
Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne had a renaissance in that time period. Kiss had a double renaissance because early in that era, they took off the makeup. And then as the 90s were closing out, Kiss put back on the makeup. So Kiss had two renaissances in that early 80s, you said. Kiss comes out with Lick It Up, No Makeup. And then by the end of all that, they were back to rock and roll all night and party every day.
The Grateful Dead had a
Like,
song in the 90s, right?
how big was you want to talk about a big band that don't get a lot of love? Def Leppard.
Oh,
They were
so
huge.
Def Leppard is at their apex in 1987.
Oh yeah, Hysteria.
But the stuff before that, the Pyromania album and the High and Dry album, fantastic.
Oh yeah, those were good too.
But the Hysteria album sent them into the stratosphere.
Right.
Def Leppard was all right, bro.
The women loved Def
Oh
Leppard.
yeah.
They love. I was not a big Def Leppard guy, but I'm going to tell you this: the women loved Def Leppard.
Pour
Still,
some sugar on me. You put that on at a party or a bar. Every woman gets up for that one.
I did see a thing that said anybody who air drums Def Leppard with both arms is an asshole.
Yeah.
But
And
no,
then-
they commercially were as big as anybody. But you know, I'm still on your thing. So can you name 5 bands within the same region of time that had a better, deeper, whatever catalog than Van Halen?
That's the point that I'm getting at.
I don't know that anybody, if you take the body of work and put it against it, that there's nobody that Van Halen at least doesn't make it a match. Because Guns N' Roses had Appetite for Destruction, which was largely almost a perfect album,